Welcome to episode 129 of the Inside Job Boards and Recruitment Marketplaces podcast. I am Stephen Rothberg, the founder of College Recruiter Job Search Site and one of your two co-hosts, joined today, as almost always, by Peter Zollman of the AIM Group. Peter, good to see you.
Good to see you. Thank you for having us, as always. We're looking forward to Rec Buzz and hope you'll be able to make it. And it's always a good time, and it's a good time of year, etc. In any case, today our guest is Przemek Gajcek of Grupa Pracuj. They're based in Poland and very strong in Eastern Europe, a job board, but much more. About 20 years ago now, I wrote in what was then Classified Intelligence Report that if you are just a job board in 5 years, you're going to be out of business. And Grupa Pracuj has exemplified that we're not going to be just a job board anymore. They have an ATS, they have applicant tracking software, they have all sorts of software tools, as well as their job boards plural. And Przemek is going to tell us about that. What prompted you to decide to go beyond being just a job board?
So, first of all, thank you very much for the invitation. Great to be here. The story, started in 2009. As you remember, that was a very difficult year because of the financial crisis. And the way we approached the crisis was, try to cut and be efficient within the job classifieds where we are suffering. But also we wanted our people to get some, to be innovative. So they put their energy into some new products. This is where we incubated a few of them. And one of them happened to be eRecruiter, which is the applicant tracking solution.
So you launched an ATS, and is it integrated fully with the job boards? Is it separate from the job boards? How does that work?
So initially, all the new projects we started, they were very small, 1, 2, 3 people teams within Grupa Pracuj. Most of them didn't survive, but this one actually got some traction, mostly because it was very close to what we are doing. So we just had clients who really wanted their resumes, the CVs to be processed through some software. And this is how we started. We brought 1, 2 other people. When we had 10, we decided to put it into the separate company, because what we realized very quickly that the way how you sell the job classifieds and the job postings is very different to the software. So we just moved on for the next years, and our idea was, let's keep them as separate companies with the separate management, separate focus, but still very much, interlinked. Because especially at the first years, the biggest source of the leads for the eRecruiter, for ATS, was Pracuj.pl, obviously.
Interesting. I have to imagine that these additional products, the ATS and others that we'll probably talk about, make you more of not just a tactical partner, we're going to post some jobs, but a strategic partner, a company that we as an employer, we're going to work with for years. What other products do you have other than the ATS that, you still have, maybe that you're rolling out, that are kind of more like that ATS, more of an HR solution than a job board solution?
Yeah, I think it's a very fair point, because, if you look at the structure of our clients in Poland, and now we focus on Poland, not on Ukraine, because, the job classifieds, we cover 2 markets in Central Eastern Europe. So in Poland, especially for the larger companies, we always believe that we want to be the first choice. And in order to be the first choice, you need to have a frequent relationship with the clients. So we started with the job classifieds, with the job postings. Then, we, of course, came with the applicant tracking solution. But we also built the employer branding services, organized some HR events. We organized for some time, traditional job fairs. During the COVID, we went online as well with these events. Actually, I think we are probably the first company in the world to organize virtual job fairs. We started in 2005, and for quite a few years. So our concept was always, if you are a large company, probably large company, then you know that you should come to us, use our services, And whenever there is something new that is coming on the market, they will be the first to know. And to answer your question, so AT is one of them. We with the ATS we go also into the onboarding process. We also have one company which is offering, let's say, which is playing in the benefit space, providing different benefits to the employers. We have one company which is pretty much what they do. They do shift management for certain type of the clients with the vacation kind of, let's say, management in inventory. So they are more like a niche, for particular segments, but we just try to provide different solutions for the customers. And this is probably the biggest strength of us. With the large customers, they know that we are usually ahead of the game. We are innovative. We speak with them, during webinars and different events about what is happening now and what will be happening in the future as well.
And I saw that you just had your work day in Warsaw a couple of weeks ago, and it looked like it was a fairly big deal. Can you tell me about that? Because it was on your LinkedIn page.
Peter's been snooping.
What does it really take to lead with impact in today's ever-evolving world? Welcome to Inside the C-Suite, the podcast where influence, energy, innovation, and empathy converge. Hi, I'm Christy Honeycutt, your host. Join me as I sit down with the boldest voices in leadership, visionaries who are not just making decisions, but making a difference. In every episode, we explore the heart of leadership. How do high-performing leaders harness their energy? How do they lead with empathy without losing their edge? How do they turn disruption into innovation and pressure into purpose? You'll hear unfiltered stories of adversity, resilience, and the raw moments that shaped true influence. This isn't about perfection. It's about presence, passion, and the energetic exchange that fuels transformation. Inside the C-Suite is your invitation to lead from a deeper place, with intention, connection, and courage. If you're ready to go beyond the surface and unlock what really moves leaders to action, hit subscribe and step inside. You can find us wherever you get your podcast fix. Inside the C-Suite, well, we're an energetic exchange. Let's lead with influence, live with energy, and create with empathy.
Which
I
one?
looked at your LinkedIn page. Let's see if I can get there. But
Yeah, you can tell me.
it mentioned that you had an event yesterday, I think, or
Oh, you're right. It's correct. So this is so yesterday was the HR week. So we have different, let's say, 2-3 big events in Poland. So this is the one when I was a speaker as well, and we are a partner of this event. We don't organize this one.
okay.
We partner with them. We have our one large event that we do for the employers every year, and 2 events. Actually, one of them was yesterday in the south of Poland in Krakow, and the other will be organized soon in Warsaw. But this is more like the job first for the young people, because obviously we start with the younger people. We want students to know pracuj.pl from the from the beginning on. So, and we want to go with them through the whole career path, basically.
Now, you mentioned in your notes to us that you hope to have 50% of your revenue coming from not the job board, but from all of the ancillaries by 2030. How far along are you? Where are you now in terms of percentages? And do you increase the other revenue, or does the job board revenue go down till it's 50%?
Yeah. So I would say that the strategy that we are a public company, so we have to do some things very officially as well. So last year we announced the strategy that we announced that we want to kind of, let's say, go to the certain level of revenues, which is I think like plus 80% comparing to 2024. And then we said that eventually we didn't say 2030, but we said eventually we would like half of the revenues to come from the software business. Saying so, right now it's to about 27%, which is coming from the software. Both our lines are growing, so the job classifieds are growing, and the software was. I mean, I can probably talk about last year. So both of these lines were growing. With the software growing like at the mid-teenage numbers, and the job classified growing like mid-single digit, while Ukraine actually surprisingly was growing much faster as well. I think the situation is becoming more tricky because, as we all observe, we look from the perspective of the value, and we want to create the value for the shareholders. And the last 6 months have been particularly painful for, first of all, for job classifieds, but I think even more for the software companies. So of course, we would like to grow the share, but I think it might be a little bit challenging because the valuations of the public companies went down by like 40%, while at the same time, I don't think the private owners, which are mostly the different private equities, I don't think they'll be willing to give up their assets for the valuations which are paid by the public market. So I think they'll be, first of all, I would want to say it will be very tricky, to do any acquisition soon. So probably, we'll be more focused on, growing the businesses that we are having right now, but of course, being also open for the new avenues. We have lots of discussions about the job classifieds as well. Is it really, how affected it might be by AI? But we are actually quite, I would say, cautiously optimistic. I know that in the US, especially, the job, there are no job classifieds. There have been LinkedIn and lots of other players. But I think here in Europe, I would say probably every single market would have like a dominant player or 1, 2, 3 players who are really strong. And I think as long as we have the unique inventory on the market, it will be very difficult for the other players to challenge it.
I'm so glad that you went there, because this is exactly what I wanted to ask. It's no news to anybody who knows our space at all, but Indeed has continued to grow and go into new markets. Some of the markets they've exited from, not, if they can't be one of the dominant players, they tend to like pull out and focus their energies on the markets where they do have dominance. What's been their impact in what I think are your two biggest markets, Poland and Ukraine? And how are you guys addressing that? What are you doing to not only just defend well, but maybe even go on offense and try to capture more market share?
So, I think our strategy since the beginning, and I think indeed, and we had lots of discussions as job classifieds in Europe about 10, 12 years ago, because we saw Indeed coming and we saw what they did in the United States.
Yeah.
So, they come, they grab the market, they aggregate everything, and at some point they start selling themselves. So our strategy was pretty much not to work with them. So we believe that, if you have a strong position on the market, and I would say at that time in Poland, there were two largest players like us, more focused on the white collar, and another player focused on the blue collar. So as long as we are kind of keeping the content to ourselves, we didn't give them the, let's say, any support for growth. So, and I think this is the same case in Poland and in Ukraine. So I would say Indeed is not really present. I mean, they are present as the website, but they are not selling much. We always try to keep the balance because we know they are the player which is the most, let's say, challenging at some point. So on both our markets, I would say Indeed is not present, but it's not the case everywhere because, we also run the recruitment software in the DACH region, especially in Germany. And Indeed is very strong there. And that's what we are seeing. But that's also, I think, comes from the fragmentation of the market. The more fragmented the market is, there is more willingness for one of the players to blink, and then the others follow as well. So that's probably the biggest difference.
Yeah, and Peter, we've seen that in other countries too. Like I remember, like in Denmark, right? We one or two very dominant players, and
Yep.
just didn't play with basically didn't play with Indeed, and that was a good strategy for keeping Indeed as a very, very secondary player.
And I think, Peter, what you did once, you did this kind of special chart, showing when Indeed is a player there versus when they are not the player. So how much you can monetize the market, and whenever they come, the monetization goes down immediately.
We have time for one more question, but
Oh,
I'm gonna
lightning.
at lightning. Okay, two quick ones. You mentioned an acquisition. You want to give us a little heads up? Is it going to be geographical expansion or is it going to be in one of your markets?
So I would say, I mean, we are debating this a lot because AI is changing a lot. So historically, we are thinking, when you do the acquisition, you do it for the market and you do it for the product. I think right now with the current AI pace, I think product is something that you can build very quickly yourself. So, I mean, I cannot give you the one answer. I think it will be much easier to do something for the markets where we are present, which would be Poland, Germany, and Ukraine. And I would say probably that will be our first direction. So that's the first question. What was the second?
We don't have any more time, but I'm going to wish you happy sailing. Hope to see you at Rec Buzz. And I know your passion is sailing. Good winds, easy water, and safety.
Thank you, guys. It's a pleasure to be here as well. Thank you, Steve, and thank you, Peter.
Thanks for joining
Thank
us.
you, guys.
Cheers.